What can't you believe still exists in 2019? Convenience fees for certain purchases like rent or tickets. Motherfucker, I know it doesn't cost your stupid ass $20 to process a rent payment. If so, I have a very fine bridge to sell. Tell me more about this bridge. Phone books. Every year they still dump a stack of them inside each apartment building where I live. Not a single one has been taken the last few years. I love phone books. I keep one next to my fireplace for when we have a fire. Robocalls, especially the fraudulent ones. The do not call list doesn't seem to work. Seriously. With all of technological advances they can't fix this problem. The stock Android phone app actually has a pretty robust built-in spam call filtering. Just like Gmail's spam filtering, it's built off of, among other things, user reports. Edit, adding instructions since people keep asking. From anywhere in the phone app, tap the three dots, settings icon, then settings. Second or third option from the bottom should be caller ID and spam, then enable one or both of the options on that screen. I briefly worked at a bank and sometimes had to use a typewriter. Blew my mind. Typewriters are cool. My granddad has one that he even managed to keep even during the occupation. I use it when I visit, the click-clack of the metal sounds like history. Fax machines. I work in the medical field and I hate them. I can't send emails because they're not secure, but half the time faxes don't go through and take 5-10 min to send. And if you press a number wrong, oops, there goes a paw. And it isn't as if faxes are encrypted or whatever. They're just as insecure as email, it's just an analog signal. The use of lead pipe and lead plumbing fittings in numerous drinking water delivery systems throughout the USA. I don't think my middle school has yet to replace its lead pipes. And we were drinking that water for years. Nielsen families. Given how well tech companies track us nowadays, there's gotta be a better way to see what people are watching. No. My favorite part is where they send me a massive 30-page survey asking for that data for free. Not only will it take me an hour to do, but for free. Kick rocks. Grainy CCTV footage. It's 2019 and every criminal still frame I ever see looks like some 16-bit bullshit. Upgraded my cameras last year to 1080p, they are so cheap now it's worth the upgrade. I can't believe asbestos is still being used in some parts of the world. The house I grew up in had a asbestos ceiling, and ever since I learned the dangers of it I've been very vocal about its dangers. My understanding is that sealed asbestos is very safe, the problem is that you can't ever unseal it without dust getting everywhere. Concentration camps. Literal concentration camps. In China, there are active concentration camps, where amongst other places they continue their total disregard for even the most basic human rights. Isn't it crazy how the whole world ignores that? Crank windows. I love them though. My 4-year-old nephew recently rode in my car and asked me what this thing was on his door. When I told him it opened and shut the window and I showed him how to do it, he was so stoked. Oh man, that is so cool. Calling to confirm orders. I had to wait extra days to get my computer because the company called to verify the order first. Hardly anyone checks the phone when they don't recognize a number these days. Seriously, that's a thing. How are they still in business? The place where I usually order computer stuff from, I can literally cancel a paid order with just a mouse click. Onision's YouTube channel. Like seriously, he's a creep and is being investigated by the FBI and YouTube isn't doing anything about it. I went to Onision's YouTube channel last week curious about whether he was still around. He is, except now he's apparently posting daily videos about the complete nervous breakdown he's having because his Patreon, yeah, he has a Patreon too, God knows who'd willingly give money to this wacko, got shut down. Pennies, they're a waste of metal, we should just go to nickels and round to the nearest 5-cent increment. Welcome to Canadian thinking. The amount of paper needed for bank transactions. How do banks debit my entire bank balance in 1 second, but it takes 3 to 5 business days to pay $50 to another bank? Businesses in major cities will not accept payment with a credit or debit card. It is 2019 and I don't like on Marion Island. Please let me pay with a card. Really, the rise of anti-intellectualism in general. Anti-vaxxers, flat earthers, climate change deniers, it's really sad. Flat earthers. If nothing else this. I can't believe that people actually think this. Kind of a reverse answer, but I'm pretty fed up with how consistently terrible phone call quality is. I'm no expert on the infrastructure of telecommunications, but my goodness, the consistently awful audio quality on phone calls seems inexcusable to me, and currentyear. Agreed. Sad to say, but as a person on the phone all day, call quality plummeted with the rise of cell phones. Landlines were so much better in that respect, at least. Some places still do not accept card. If it's a small mom and pop store, it's probably because of card merchant fees, like 2-3% plus 30 cents of every transaction, to process to the card. There is a ridiculous amount of unnecessary paperwork that could easily have been done electronically nowadays. I have to fill out a form, print out 3 copies and sign each copy, just to return some pallets back to the main warehouse at store I work at. It's ridiculous. We also have a computer that logs the temperature of all the fridges and freezers, but they insist on me writing it all down on paper with a pen like it's the frickin' 50s. Such cruelty to animals and humans. We are all living creatures, treat yourself and others with respect for once. Well, for once, is easy enough. It's forever that we struggle with. Global warming, like serious, just turn down the sun. Turn down the sun, PFFFT. Don't be an idiot. We just gotta move the earth a few feet backward. Chemicals in the water turning the freaking frogs gay. Even a broke clock is right twice a day, and Alex runs on military time. The chemicals were altering the frog hormones. People dying because they don't have health insurance. Or they do have health insurance, but the insurance company is refusing to pay for the care they need. You won't catch me saying that it isn't worth taking a good, hard, honest look at the reasons that healthcare is so expensive in the first place, though. My dad died in 1995, and if he came back now, I think he'd be stunned that the NHS is still in crisis. Politicians are still lying constantly. There are still wars going on in the Middle East about the same things. Racism is everywhere, and our education system is still terrible. There are loads of positives, but these are the negative things. Really. I mean, I was around in 1995. I don't think there were a lot of people projecting that politicians would stop lying and that the Middle East would be completely at peace by 2020. I may be misremembering, but I think we didn't even expect Northern Ireland to be at peace by 2020. The Bachelor and The Bachelorette. Both shows pander to the lowest common denominator of entertainment, and should be banished to the ash heap of history. Sex, it's been entertaining living organisms for millions of years. Fluid border situations in Europe. Like, I never thought I'd ever see something like the Crimean crisis back in 2015. That is still not resolved. And now Turkey is doing Turkey things about maritime borders with Greece, Cyprus. I would expect behaviors like these in the Middle East or in Africa, but in Europe. Kardashians. The fact that you've mentioned them is the reason why they are still around. Say what you will, but the Kardashian-Jenner clan have made being famous for being famous into an art form. And then they've found a way to utilize their fame to kick off other business ventures. Something tells me they'd still be quite successful if they disappeared from the limelight tomorrow. Checkbooks. I work at a small business that sells high-ticket items that have minimal markup. Say the item is being sold at $5,000, which is about an average price for us. We would have to pay the credit card processing company around 3% or about $150 for you to run your card. On an item that price we are making about $600, so that would be 25% of our profit gone. You can bet your ass we only take checks or cash most of the time. Dental insurance, or at least the way it works in the US. I believe a lot of people are forced to live with failing teeth because they're only allotted $1,000 per year, and after that it's out of pocket. That's the opposite of how health insurance works. Sexism. But not the kind of sexism you expect. New Year's Eve is coming and I'm a guy trying to find if and where I'll spend my hard-earned money. However, and I know this may come as a shock to many who refuse to believe sexism towards men is real, I'm seeing a lot of ads for events that are either OP/NLY more expensive for men to enter, or they're completely free for women but have an entry fee for men. Why is this example of real black and white pure form sexism towards men okay? I've seen a bunch of these ads on Instagram recently and I don't see anyone complaining, but if the roles were RSCD, those clubs and bars would be committing social suicide in this cancel culture. Humans, like, how did we not manage to make ourselves extinct yet? We fuck more than we can kill. To be grandiose, war. We've been doing it for millennia and haven't figured out that there is a better way. If an alien race were to arrive, I'm sure they'd look and say fine, war is a developmental step, but you don't seem to have progressed for thousands of years. War sucks. It's hell. It is gotten into by the rich, and won on the backs of the poor. There's often no justification for it. There is, however, often a very good justification for it. Fees for paying anything online. How is it somehow more difficult and expensive to eliminate all paperwork from a purchase? World hunger. There is so much food thrown away in industrialized countries. Everyone who tells you there isn't enough food in the world and we need more efficient growing is lying. All we have to do is stop throwing our food away and send it to poorer countries that can use it. I'm doing my part. I just finished everything on my plate and I want to throw up now. Homophobia. Why does anyone care who anyone else is attracted to? I know there are some religious zealots out there, but I think the worst offenders of that bunch are projecting their own closeted self-loathing on others. It's all very sad. I really don't think people appreciate how much that's fallen off in recent years. It was just in the early 2000s where there was a serious attempt to put a constitutional amendment in place outlawing gay marriage. Now it's become largely a non-issue and the only people who keep bringing it up are the super hard-right religious fundies. It's honestly amazing how quickly public perception and acceptance changed over such a brief span. Communism and people unironically being for it. It's pretty easy to understand why. You have a whole generation of voters who lived through a major economic recession caused by unregulated capitalism. And now those voters live in a world where capitalism has perverted everything from politics to healthcare. To them, capitalism has failed them and is the cause of all their problems. It's only natural that people will embrace the opposite extreme. Human beings doing the most illogical, stupidest shit that makes absolutely no sense and benefits absolutely no one by the stretch of the imagination. Homelessness in first world countries. I thought by now we'd have solved that with all the money and empty houses. Humans after 2 world wars, the Cold War and famine, and just the entire history of us before that small amount of time span, the billions of years before that, actually made our planet manifest all of us.